ain't getting nowhere.
Okay, so I have now returned from my trip to Cache Creek, and at this point I have a fair amount of concentrated material that has been processed through the sluice. So each bucket here corresponds to a different location that I was at. So this orange bucket here is that very first location, the white one is the second, and the blue one is the third and last location that I worked at. So I just kind of want to know, number one, did I capture any gold material at all? You can't really tell just looking at this uh, material in its present form. And then secondly, I want to know if one location happens to outperform the other two. So at this point, we need to go ahead and pan out this material, separate the gold from the black sands, if there is any gold at all. So let's go ahead and see how this pans out. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is classify the material out into this 20 mesh classifier. So do one scoop at a time here. Everything that did not pass through, I'm putting into a separate pan. Okay, so what I can do here is take the material that could not pass through the 20 mesh classifier and just run a magnet through and pick up some of that magnetic material, and then simply place it into another bowl here and just make sure I don't see anything interesting. I don't believe I do. So I can just simply repeat that process. Now I can go ahead and do a proper pan of this. Certainly seems like gold. So that was in that first bucket and just kind of stayed in with all the other larger pieces after I got panned it down to this amount. So that again, this was in that material that did not go through the 20 mesh classifier. Okay, so just for fun, I have decided to try out a Miller table. And the way this works is you put the dirt here at the top, and it will separate the black sand from the gold just by running water through it. And as you can see here, I do have a nice little piece right here. So that's kind of encouraging. Hard to focus on the phone here, but you can see it. And I've got a couple of smaller pieces there, and then kind of the black sand. And you can kind of work it with a card here. You can just kind of shove, whenever it needs help, you can just kind of do this. And you can see how it works that out. So what I'm going to do here is I'll go ahead and put another scoop of material, just a small amount, and you'll be able to see what this looks like. So I'm just going to leave the gold piece right there and put some more sand and so forth up front. So you can kind of see it working here. So it's going to move the black sand and the other material away, and hopefully just leave the gold in place. And you can already see some gold up at the top here. And again, you can just kind of work it manually if you have to. Yeah, sometimes you will lose a little bit of gold. At least this is my first time trying this, so I'm just experimenting at this point, but it's kind of cool to see how this works. So I don't really care about this, so I'll just do that. And it is going into another bin here, so if I decide to rework the tailings, I can do that. so these are all the pieces that I recovered after I went through the tailings of the Miller table. So that's actually quite a bit. Now, again, I'm not sure if maybe I was running it too quickly, or it just doesn't really work for this type of gold that's not exactly flat, for example. But either way, it's definitely worthwhile to run through the tailings and just to recover all the material you can. And what you can see here is that I have my gold is up here, and then I've got the black sand that I want to separate out. So the idea is simply to basically work the water back and forth like this, and you'll start to see a line of black sand form up. So as I do this motion back and forth, it basically works its way where the black sand starts to separate out from the gold. So it's one way to do it, and it seems to work fairly well. And now you have a lot less black sand than when you started. So you just kind of keep doing that back and forth, and eventually you'll work down to where all you've got left is the gold. So it's a pretty straightforward cleanup technique. It just takes time. Okay, so this is all of the gold that I was able to get out of that first bucket, and I have to say I'm really excited about this. I've never seen this much gold before, and it's pretty cool to see this, and especially some of these larger pieces here. I've never seen those before. So this is quite a good result, and I'm just kind of curious to know what the other two buckets have in store, if they'll come even anywhere near close to this. But what I need to do now is weigh this out and see the exact amount of gold, and then go from there.